Discover the incredible truth revealed in my husband's last drawer. A life-changing journey awaits. Sarah felt the weight of the world press down on her shoulders as she stood in the dim light of the study, surrounded by the shadows of their past. It had been a week since Tom's unexpected passing, and despite the grief that threatened to suffocate her, she knew she had to carry on for her children, for herself. The rain poured outside, tapping its relentless rhythm against the window, as if to echo her heart's own lament. Today she would find solace in memories. She began rummaging through drawers, seeking out pieces of Tom's life that she could hold on to. Her fingers brushed against worn-out childhood photos, their kids smiling brightly at the camera, and her chest tightened with nostalgia. But it wasn't until she stumbled upon a dusty old desk in the corner that her pulse quickened. It was hidden away, much like so many parts of Tom's life she never knew. As she opened the drawer, her breath hitched. Inside lay a bundle of letters, tied with fraying twine, and a stack of uncashed checks. She was struck with a mix of excitement and dread, hoping to find a forgotten birthday note or a sweet memory. But as she began to read, emotions swelled in her chest. What she discovered was much more profound. The letters described Tom's secret life. A man who had devoted countless hours to mentoring kids struggling in their school, offering guidance and hope to those who, like him, had been faced with economic hardship. The words spoke of young minds ignited with ambition, of dreams nurtured his fingerprints, leaving a mark on people she had never met. He was a hero, she thought, but with that pride came a sharp pang of betrayal. Why hadn't he shared this with her? Their own family had struggled while he poured his heart into others. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determined to honor Tom's legacy, Sarah took a deep breath and made her way to the community center, the very heartbeat of their town. With her children in hand, she found herself gathering folks together with a trembling heart, hoping to raise support for the initiatives Tom had championed. But as she spoke, voices rose in skepticism, doubts creeping through the crowd. The fear of public speaking gnawed at her confidence, and when faced with persistent resistance, she felt her spirit wane. Just as hope began to flicker, setbacks struck. Her children craved their mother's attention, the bills piled high, and exhaustion weighed heavily. Through it all, she held her head high, reminding herself of Tom's unwavering spirit, and yet uncertainty clouded every step she took. Then, a shocking twist rocked her world. The uncashed checks were not mere donations but instead signs of deeper troubles. Could they have been meant for someone else? Did Tom hide something more crucial in the silent shadows? The foundation of what she believed about her husband was quaking beneath her feet. This journey was just beginning, and questions loomed larger now than grief itself. Was he a beacon of light? Or had he been hiding dark secrets? Her determination surged, igniting a mission to uncover the whole truth. Sarah walked home from the community center, the weight of heavy shadows following her. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky painted with hues of orange and purple, a bitter reminder of the beauty she once shared with Tom. She felt as though she were trudging through mud, each step monotonous and exhausting, as doubts raced through her mind. Had Tom really been a beacon for others, or had he led a life wrapped in secrets? The silence in her home felt oppressive enough to smother her. Her children's laughter from earlier felt like a distant echo, now only replaced by the sound of her own heartbeat. She looked around at the frames lining the walls, their smiles frozen in time. Each picture was a reminder of the love they had built together, yet that love now seemed shrouded in uncertainty. That night, after tucking the kids in, Sarah returned to the drawer, the letters still whispering their secrets to her. She felt an undeniable need to delve deeper. What else was tucked away, hidden from her view? She grabbed a pen and notepad, determined to jot down everything. As she pieced together Tom's life, her hand shook with a mix of suspicion and yearning. "Why, Tom?" she whispered to the empty room. "Why didn't you share this with me? What else did you keep from me?" But the answers lay within the job he'd taken on with the youth, buried beneath chaos that felt insurmountable. Each letter revealed stories of kids he had saved from the brink, bringing hope into lives darkened by struggle. Her heart swelled at some tales. Her spirit sank at the realization of her own family's trials. Her mind raced. Perhaps there was still a way to honor him, to expose the truth behind the uncashed checks. If they were tied to someone else, maybe she could find a way to connect with these kids or their families. She needed answers, and there was a community out there who could provide them. The next day she decided to reach out. Using a local directory, she gathered contact information for those mentioned in the letters. One by one, she called the parents of the children Tom had mentored. Her voice trembled, but she pressed on, revealing who she was, and they responded with warmth. Tom was a lifeline, a mother chimed in. He made my daughter believe in herself again. With each conversation, Sarah felt a flicker of hope grow amidst the uncertainty. As she listened, she discovered a community woven together by her husband's kindness. It was a tapestry of reflection and strength, filled with stories of struggling families who now stood upright, empowered by Tom's belief in them. By the time evening fell, Sarah had a list of names and families who were ready to come together. Together they could amplify Tom's work, revive his efforts, and perhaps even confront whatever secrets shaped their lives. The fear of the past began to fade, replaced by determination. But as she prepared for the gathering, a nagging thought tugged at her heart. What if Tom had devoted so much of himself that parts of his identity had been erased? Had she ever truly known him? The need for clarity was overwhelming. As she stood in the kitchen, a strange noise broke her reverie, a muffled thump from the study. Sarah's heart raced. She reached for the doorknob, her hand trembling. What if she wasn't ready for what lay beyond? Taking a deep breath, she opened the door. What more was Tom hiding? And would she finally uncover the truth? The moment of discovery hung thick in the air, charged with every unresolved feeling swirling around her. Sarah stood at the threshold, her heart pounding in her chest. She took a moment to steady herself, summoning every ounce of courage to confront whatever lay ahead. The room, once a sanctuary of their shared life, now felt like a realm laced with secrets. She stepped inside, the familiar scent of old books and paper enveloping her. Shadows danced across the walls as the last remnants of daylight faded through the window. There, against the backdrop of the dim room, she noticed something, a folder perched precariously on the desk, as if it had been hastily abandoned. With tentative fingers she approached and lifted the folder. It felt heavy, laden with the knowledge it concealed. As she opened it, the first item caught her eye. A photo of Tom grinning with a group of teenagers, their faces radiant with joy. A chill ran down her spine. She recognized some of them, their stories echoed in the letters she had read. Beneath the photo lay a stack of papers, each one packed with detailed accounts of Tom's interactions with these kids. Their struggles, their triumphs, and the ways Tom had stepped in when no one else would. Her chest tightened with a mix of pride and sorrow. He had been their hero. But within that heroism, did he conceal shadows of his own? Sarah flipped through the papers with urgency, the words blurring together as her emotions swelled. There were commendations from community leaders, letters from grateful parents, and handwritten notes from the kids, expressing their gratitude. Yet, something in the back of her mind nagged at her. It felt as if these accolades barely scratched the surface. Then she found a slip of paper tucked between two thicker documents, its edges worn and dog-eared. As she unfolded it, her breath caught in her throat. It was a list of names, but not just any names. These were the names of kids who had fallen through the cracks, children Tom had mentioned in passing but never fully explored. Some had been lost to the streets, others to addiction. A sense of dread gripped her as she imagined her husband dipping into darkness during his efforts to help them. "Why didn't you tell me?" she murmured, frustration mixed with hurt coursing through her. Tom's choices, the people he had engaged with, it all felt suddenly vast and confusing. Her eyes scanned the list again. There, highlighted in bright yellow, was one name that twisted her gut: Jordan. Sarah remembered the boy. His troubled life had been a frequent topic of discussion in the community. He had slipped away from the program a year prior. It seemed Tom had held on to hopes for him that never bore fruit. Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes as she thought of the lost potential, the help Tom might have wished to offer but could not reach. She clutched the paper tightly, awareness dawning in her there was so much more to Tom's mission that she didn't fully understand. And then it hit her. A tightening knot formed in her stomach. What if there was more that Tom hadn't just forgotten to tell her? What if he had embedded himself into their lives so deeply he'd become part of their struggles as well? A wave of determination surged within her. She had to find Jordan and others like him. For Tom. For the truth. As she turned to leave the study, energized by her newfound purpose, a soft click echoed through the room, the sound of the door closing behind her. The air shifted suddenly and she froze, her pulse quickening. Alone no longer, she sensed a presence at her back. Who or what awaited her now? She turned, and the weight of that many unknowns settled around her. Would she walk away empowered or further shattered? Her resolve to seek the truth clenched tighter within her. But she could feel the lurking uncertainty waiting in the shadows. Would the truth lead her to healing or deeper despair? Sarah took one last steadied breath, focusing on the path ahead. The journey had only just begun, and now the stakes felt higher than ever. Sarah spun around, her heart racing as she faced the sudden chill that filled the room. The shadows flickered, mingling with the sinking sun outside. There stood a figure, someone she hadn't expected. Sarah, it was Mark, Tom's closest friend and a familiar face in their lives. His voice was cautious, tinged with something she couldn't place. Mark, what are you doing here? Confusion whipped through her, feeling the weight of the folder still in her hands. I came to check on you, he stammered, stepping into the dim light. I heard about Tom, about everything. His eyes flitted to the folder she held tightly. Sarah felt the urge to hide it, but she knew she couldn't shield the truth any longer. I found this, she said, holding the folder aloft. It's all about his work with those kids. The ones he couldn't save. Mark's expression shifted instantly from concern to something deeper. Was it guilt? She took a step forward, needing to understand. What did I miss, Mark? What was Tom really doing? He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck, visibly grappling with his words. You don't know the half of it, do you? What half? Her frustration crackled like static between them. He was a hero to those kids. How can you say I don't know? He was a hero, Mark conceded quietly, his voice laden with sorrow. But he was also struggling with the weight of it all. The deeper he got involved, the more he helped, the more he lost himself. She finished for him, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark looked down, nodding slowly. He couldn't save them all, Sarah. And it weighed on him. Each name on that list? He gestured at the folder. Each name was a reminder of a life he couldn't change. The intensity of Mark's stare cut through her like a knife. As she took a breath to respond, memories of Tom's voice echoed in her mind. He had always spoken of Jordan, the boy with potential that slipped away. Had Mark known more than she did? I need to find Jordan, she said resolutely, her determination simmering over the pain churning in her chest. I have to know if he's okay, if he's still out there. Mark glanced at her, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. Sarah, it's not just about finding him. Tom's choice to invest in these kids was a heavy one. He may have had his own shadows, and confronting that truth, it might lead you down a dark path. But what if he did save some of them? She countered, emboldened. What if I can still make a difference? Or what if reaching for that truth exposes deeper scars? Mark pressed, his voice softening, sensing the battle within her. She didn't answer right away. A wave of grief washed over her as she thought of everything Tom had sacrificed. The heroism, the darkness, and now the urgent quest for answers. Do you think he was in over his head? She asked finally, her voice trembling. Mark searched her eyes. I think he cared too much. With that, silence wrapped around them, punctuated only by the whisper of the night drawing closer. It felt as if their shared past collided with an uncertain future, the weight of Tom's unshared burdens resting heavily between them. Then I need to face this, Sarah said, her resolve hardening once more. I'll find Jordan, even if it leads me into shadows. For Tom. For all of them. As she gathered herself, ready to step into the unknown, a question loomed. Was she prepared for the answers that lay ahead? As adrenaline surged within her, she felt the first flicker of fear. What other truths might unfold when she confronted Jordan, and the world Tom had been part of? With determination anchored in her chest, Sarah stepped forward. The past was only the beginning of her journey, and the real battle was just on the horizon. Would those answers lead her to redemption? Or would they unravel everything she thought she knew? As Sarah stood in that dim room, A rush of emotion swirled within her. The memory of Tom's warm smile collided with the haunting reality of his struggles. She could feel every heartbeat echo with questions, the kind of questions that perched on the edge of her tongue, waiting for the right moment to spill out. Jordan, she whispered, the name almost like a prayer. The thought of finding him, bringing closure, or maybe uncovering new layers of Tom's life, filled her with a mix of dread and purpose. Mark's presence felt both comforting and unsettling. Are you sure you want to plunge into this? It could change everything, he warned, unable to mask the concern etched on his face. I don't have a choice, Mark, she said, her voice stronger now. Tom chose to save those kids. I owe it to him to see if there's even a shred of hope left, if there's something we can still do. Mark sighed, the weight of her determination evident. All right, I'll help you, he said, finally nodding. But we need to prepare ourselves. The world he navigated wasn't just a playground of lost dreams. It was fraught with dangers and painful truths. As they stepped out into the cool evening air, Sarah felt a strange sense of clarity. The world outside felt so mundane, so normal, while every part of her was about to dive into the unknown. Moments flickered in her mind, Tom laughing with kids at the community center, working tirelessly to give them hope, and many nights where he came home exhausted, carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. Do you know where to start? Mark asked, tearing her from her thoughts. I remember Tom mentioning a neighborhood spot, she replied. It was a coffee shop, the kind of place the kids hung out when they weren't in school. Maybe someone there knows where Jordan is. Mark nodded and they headed toward the car, its headlights cutting through the darkness. As they drove, Sarah felt the familiar streets transform into a maze of memories, each corner a reminder of Tom's legacy. When they arrived, the shop's neon sign buzzed with a flickering light that felt both inviting and ominous. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, warmth enveloping her but the air thick with anticipation. The sound of the coffee grinder was a soothing backdrop to her racing heart. Let us split up, Mark suggested, scanning the room. See if anyone remembers Jordan. He's bound to have a few friends here. Sarah nodded, her eyes searching the faces around her, each one a stranger. Yet somehow they felt connected through Tom. After several minutes of fruitless questioning, she began to feel her hope dwindling. Just as she was about to give up, a voice broke through the noise. Are you looking for someone? A young woman approached, her dark hair pulled back. She had kind, engaging eyes that caused Sarah to pause. Yes, I'm looking for Jordan. He used to come here often, Sarah said, her voice trembling with urgency. The woman's expression changed, a flash of recognition crossing her face. Jordan, yeah, he was a good kid. But he's been through a lot since. Tom, what do you mean? The urgent need for answers spilled from Sarah's lips, her heart pounding. He's gone off the grid. Some say he's been in trouble. You might want to hurry, the woman said, her voice barely above a whisper, laden with unspoken fears. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Gone off the grid? What did that signify? A sense of foreboding washed over her. Please, where can I find him? She pleaded. The woman hesitated before responding. I can give you a place, but her voice trailed off, looking around as if ensuring no one was eavesdropping. He's with a crowd that isn't safe, Sarah. They're involved in things you don't want to get caught up in. Every word fell on Sarah like a heavy stone, dread brewing in her chest. What had Tom's choices cost? Determined, she locked eyes with Mark, who had been eavesdropping. She knew they couldn't back down now. Too much hung in the balance. Would this reckless pursuit lead to more than she'd bargained for? With her heart racing and a sense of urgency surging upward, they had to decide, would they press forward into the dark, or step back and erase this haunting path. Let us go, Sarah breathed, her voice steady despite the tremors beneath. She was ready to chase the shadows, no matter what the cost. What awaited on the other side of truth? The air outside felt charged with tension as Sarah and Mark hurried toward the car. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, each beat echoing her resolve. No matter how dangerous it might be, she couldn't turn back. Tom had given so much, sacrificed so much. She had to see this through for him, for Jordan, and the kids who needed saving. Mark started the car and they drove away from the warmth of the coffee shop, the laughter and chatter fading behind them. The streets, which had once felt like a comforting blanket, now loomed like shadows. Each passing light illuminated Sarah's determined face as she thought of Jordan. What could he be going through? Where to? Mark asked, breaking the silence. East side, near the old playground, she replied, her thoughts racing. It's where Tom said many of the kids would hang out after school. If Jordan is lost, maybe he is still searching for a piece of home. They arrived at the playground, a dilapidated structure surrounded by chain-link fences. The swings creaked eerily, and the rusted slide stood sentinel over faded graffiti that told of happier times. This once vibrant place now echoed with absence, mirroring Sarah's heart as they exited the car. Sarah felt the weight of expectation pressing down on her shoulders. She glanced around, looking for anyone who could help. Let us try asking around, she suggested. Wait, Mark said, gripping her arm gently. Let us be smart about this. We don't know what we're walking into. I can't wait, she insisted, her voice strong yet laced with worry. Every moment counts. Mark nodded reluctantly, and they headed in different directions, scanning the ground where only a few kids lingered. Most of the games were abandoned, and the echoes of laughter were replaced by uneasy whispers. Sarah approached a small group of boys playing basketball. They eyed her warily, but she pushed through her anxiety. Hey, do any of you know a kid named Jordan? The tallest boy stopped dribbling and looked at her, a hard expression on his face. Why do you want to know? He is a friend, she managed to say, even as uncertainty churned in her stomach. I'm trying to find him. Is he around? The boy exchanged glances with his friends before stepping closer. You're not from here, are you? Jordan, hasn't he been at the center lately? Do you know where he is? Sarah pressed, the urgency spilling over. Just then, a rustling noise caught her attention. A girl who looked a few years older than the boys emerged from behind a nearby tree. She wore a worn-out hoodie and jeans with frayed hems, her dark eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and caution. I might know where he is, she said slowly, her voice softening the tension in the air. What do you mean? Sarah asked, her pulse quickening. He got involved with the wrong people, the girl explained, lowering her voice. It's bad news, trust me. But if you want to help him, you need to hurry. Where is he? Mark interjected, stepping in, protective and sharp. There's a party out near the docks. They've been getting high and doing things they shouldn't. I'd avoid it if I were you, she warned, her eyes flickering with concern. But if you're serious about finding him, you have to go. Sarah's heart sank at the mention of the docks. She could envision the kind of trouble swirling there. But deep down she knew this was the only way. Tell me how to get there, she urged, desperation spilling out of her. The girl hesitated, then gave a reluctant nod. Follow the main road. But be careful, those kids won't take well to strangers. Sarah looked at Mark, feeling the weight of their choices hanging in the air. The danger was real, and it felt like she was teetering on the edge of a cliff. Are we really doing this? Mark asked, concern etched on his face. Sarah took a deep breath, her voice steady. We've come too far to turn back now. If Jordan is in trouble, we need to help him. Taking a step back toward the car, she turned to the girl. Thank you. We'll find him. As they drove toward the docks, shadows swallowed the road ahead. The night deepened, a thick fog resting over the water, hiding what lay beneath. With every passing moment, the weight of uncertainty pressed down on Sarah. The path ahead felt dark and twisted, and she couldn't help but wonder, would she find Jordan? Or would this chase lead her down a path she couldn't return from? Just as Mark pulled onto the dock road, a club music thump rumbled through the air, setting her heart on edge. What awaited them in that darkness? And more importantly, would they be able to bring Jordan back into the light? The dock road was a long stretch of asphalt that flickered under the glow of a broken streetlight. The music grew louder, pulsating with a raw energy that sent chills down Sarah's spine. As they neared the end of the road, the scene unfolded like a movie, cars parked haphazardly, laughter mingling with shouts, the air thick with a mix of adrenaline and something darker. Look over there, Mark pointed, his voice low. A small crowd had gathered around a flickering bonfire, shadows dancing around the figures. They looked like kids, but something felt off, dangerous. We need to find Jordan, she whispered sharply, her eyes scanning the crowd. He could be anywhere in there. Stay close, Mark warned, his protective instincts kicking in, and she nodded. Together they stepped out of the car, the music hitting them like a wave. Every beat reverberated through her body, a stark contrast to the silence that had filled her heart moments before. As they walked closer, the overwhelming noise swallowed them, and Sarah felt a sense of vulnerability creep in. The energy was contagious, but she knew it masked dangers she couldn't yet see. Every face she passed held a story she'd never know. Secrets hunched in laughter or withdrawn in shadow. "Are you sure this is the right place?" Mark asked, brows knitted with concern. "It has to be," Sarah said, striving to keep her voice steady. "We have to ask around." They approached a small group, boys boasting in bravado, but Sarah's heart sank as she noticed the glazed looks in their eyes. "Excuse me," she called out, hands trembling at her sides. "Have any of you seen a kid named Jordan?" One of the boys turned, scanning her face before bursting into laughter. "Jordan? You mean the guy with the golden handshake? That kid's in way over his head. Where is he?" Mark interrupted, tension building in his voice. "He's inside party-s gettin' wild." Another boy yelled, his laughter echoing as he swayed on his feet. Sarah's stomach twisted. "Please, we need to find him." "You probably should just leave, lady. That place ain't safe," the first boy warned, a smirk creeping onto his face. "But if you're determined, it's the old warehouse down by the water." She felt a rush of gratitude and fear at the same time. "Thank you," she managed, gripping Mark's arm tightly as they turned toward the warehouse. "Wait," Mark said, suddenly hesitant. "What if we go in and—" "No." Sarah cut him off, her frustration bubbling. "We can't just give up on him. We have to try." That desperation fueled her as they moved further into the murky glow of party lights, the noise swelling around them. Laughter, shouting, and the unmistakable sound of shattered glass filled the air. Her heart raced not just from fear but hope, a tiny flame fighting against the overwhelming tides. As they approached the warehouse, shadows flickered in the distance. She could see kids moving in and out, some clutching bottles, others leaning against the wall, lost in their own worlds. And then she spotted him, a familiar figure standing by the door, alone yet engulfed in the chaos. "Jordan!" she yelled, her voice breaking through the noise, cutting across the laughter. He turned at the sound of her voice, and for a brief moment time froze. The chaos of the party faded away, and all that remained was Jordan's startled expression, a blend of disbelief and fear. "Sarah," he whispered, eyes wide, a hint of something vulnerable breaking through his tough exterior. "Get away from them," she shouted, her instincts screaming. As Jordan hesitated, a group of figures stepped out from the shadows behind him, eyes narrowed and intentions dark. Mark moved closer, a protective stance, tension boiling in the air between desperation and danger. They had come too far to back down now. But just as they started toward him, a figure stepped out, blocking their path. The night was closing in, and Sarah's heart raced as the stakes grew higher. "Is it too late to change the plan?" Mark asked, his voice barely audible over the music and the rising panic in the air. "No," she breathed, determination flaring once more. "Not yet." In that moment, fingertips grazed the edges of the unknown, and Sarah realized how quickly everything could unravel. Would they be able to pull him back from the edge? Or would this be the moment that changed everything? As the music thumped louder, drowning out everything but the sound of racing hearts, she wondered, would they be able to save him from the darkness surrounding them? The air around them thickened, a mix of fear and urgency buzzing like electricity. The figure blocking their path was tall, muscular, with a face that looked all too familiar, a brooding glare that sent a chill racing down Sarah's spine. It was Jake, known around these parts for his temper and connection to the crowd. "What's with the look, Sarah?" Jake sneered, a smirk creeping across his face. "You here for the party? Or just here to babysit?" She felt her heart pounding against her ribs. "We're looking for Jordan," she said, forcing her voice to remain steady despite the tremor deep within. "Jordan?" Jake laughed, a sound that grated on her nerves. "He's having the time of his life. Maybe you should just turn around and go home." "No, we're not leaving without him." Mark stepped forward, protective instinct flaring with every ounce of courage he could muster. "Oh yeah? And what are you gonna do about it?" Jake's friends crowded closer, amusement dancing in their eyes, a pack ready to pounce. Sarah's mind raced. She couldn't let them intimidate her. Jordan was in there, lost. Her thoughts flickered to the last time she'd seen him. That bright smile. The way he always made her laugh. Suddenly she couldn't breathe, fear coiling tightly around her chest. "Jordan needs us," she said, her voice rising above the noise, louder this time. "He's just a kid. He deserves more than this." Jake's expression shifted for a second, perhaps even considering her words, but the laughter from his crowd snapped him back. Kids make choices, Sarah. He made his. Mark narrowed his eyes, ready to lash out, but Sarah placed a hand on his arm, grounding him. No, we can't fight. We have to find a way through. Just then, something caught her eye, a flicker of hope as a figure moved away from the dance floor, edging towards the back of the warehouse. Jordan! She yelled again, this time desperation lacing her tone. Sarah! His voice, filled with confusion, broke through the noise. He was still there, but now his gaze darted nervously between her and Jake. Stay right there. Don't move, she urged, and she took a step forward, intent on reaching him, ignoring the tension that bristled in the air. Now you've done it, Jake growled, stepping closer with his friends. The music shifted again, the energy of the crowd pulsing through the air like a beast ready to spring. Sarah's heart raced, the urgency palpable. Jordan was so close, yet she felt as if the ground might swallow her whole, the atmosphere charged with unspoken threats. Jordan, just trust me. We can get out of here, she called out, her voice breaking with the effort. You don't need to be with them. But suddenly Jordan hesitated, uncertainty flashing across his features. The darkness that had amused Jake and his crew loomed like an insidious shadow, enticing and frightening. Sarah Jordan's voice trembled. I don't know if I want to leave. Mark shot her a look, his eyes wide with shared dread. What did they do to him? The reality struck with painful clarity. It wasn't just about finding Jordan. It was about pulling him away from something deeper and darker than she had initially grasped. Jordan! She cried, pushing through the throng, inner voice chanting that they were almost there. Desperate to pull him back from the edge of this chaotic abyss, that moment, the tension snapped. Someone yelled from behind her. Get them! As Jake charged forward. Run! Mark shouted. But Sarah couldn't run away. Not now. Not when they had come so far. Time hung heavy as she felt reality collide, their fates entwined in the chaos. What would she do next? Would she risk it all to save him? Or would they be trapped in this dark night forever? With her heart racing, she steeled herself to fight not just for their lives, but for Jordan's freedom. Then she heard it, an ominous rumble, a siren in the distance, growing closer. Would it be their salvation or their undoing? The siren's wail echoed off the warehouse walls, cutting through the haze of noise like a knife. It twisted Sarah's gut. Was help on the way? Or was it just another layer of chaos to navigate? She could see Jordan now, fear plastered across his face, as Jake and his friends shifted like wolves scenting prey. Jordan! She shouted again, her voice trembling with urgency. The world around her was suddenly as clear as crystal. Nothing else mattered. She had to reach him no matter the cost. Stay back, Jake growled, blocking her path with his broad shoulders. You don't know what you're getting into. Neither do you. Sarah shot back, her confidence blooming into a fierce determination. You think this is fun? These people. She gestured to the crowd, some of whom were already backing away, others sneering with feigned bravado. Jordan is in danger. This isn't a party. It's a trap. For a heartbeat, Jake hesitated. Just a flicker, but Sarah seized on it. She knew if she could reach Jordan, maybe he could break free from Jake's web of intimidation. Please, Jordan. Just listen to me. Her heart thudded loudly. Each thump felt like an urging drum beat, screaming for action. You're not one of them. You're better than this. Jordan's eyes darted again, caught in a whirlwind of indecision. She could see it, the conflict tearing at him as he weighed their friendship against the mind games Jake was playing. A sudden burst of clarity cracked through the tension. Sarah stepped forward, refusing to care about the danger. I know you're scared. You think this is where you belong. But all these people, they don't care about you, Jordan. They only want to use you. His brow furrowed, uncertainty battling with the allure of his current crowd. They give me a place, a feeling of being part of something. No place that makes you feel scared, ashamed, or like you have to hide from your friends is worth it. Her voice cut through the music, echoing off the metallic surfaces. Jake sneered, stepping back. Look at him, Sarah. Your words aren't going to change anything. He's not a kid anymore. He can make his own decisions. Is that what you keep telling yourself? Sarah shot back, glancing at Jake. You think pushing him away makes him stronger? It just makes him lost. Jordan stared at her, a flicker of doubt crossing his features, not in her words, but in what he might be sacrificing. The siren grew louder, pressing in like a reminder of urgency. With every ounce of her strength, she took another step closer. The distance between them felt like miles, yet she refused to let fear dictate her actions. I'm here, Jordan. I never stopped caring. You're more than this. You can choose to walk away with me. You don't have to be alone. Time seemed to freeze. In that moment, Sarah and Jordan locked gazes, their history swirling between them. Would he choose the darkness he knew, or the light of friendship beckoning him back? Jordan's voice barely above a whisper, thick with emotion. Suddenly, the half-crowd parted as sirens exploded into the chaotic night. The bright red lights painted the scene in urgent hues. Jake's smirk faltered as shadows of authority spilled into the space. Move! Jake shouted, looking around for an escape. Jordan! Now! Sarah screamed, stretching her hand toward him, hoping the sirens would pierce through the fog of confusion. He hesitated, a critical moment hanging like the weight of the world in the air. Would he understand? Would he see that the sirens were not just a sound, but a chance to fight for his life? The room erupted into chaos, a swirling vortex of shouts and movement as people began to scramble. The moment felt electric. One flicker of light could change everything. Would Jordan take her hand? Or would Jake's shadow swallow him whole as the world spun into disarray? Jordan, please. That desperate plea hung in the air like a fragile thread. As the sirens blared louder and Jake's crew shifted toward fight or flight, Sarah waited, heart-pounding, breath held. What was he going to do? Would he choose bravery over fear? She needed to know. The chaos in the warehouse felt like it could swallow Sarah whole. The sirens blared louder, slicing through the haze of music, confusion, and fear. In this moment, everything hinged on Jordan. Jordan, I'm here. Please. Sarah called, urgency pouring from her heart. They don't care about you. You're not alone, I promise. Jordan blinked, caught in the storm of his emotions. Sarah could see the struggle behind his eyes, the weight of choices pressing down like concrete. She didn't care about the danger around her. All that mattered was reaching him, breaking through his doubt. Suddenly Jake surged forward, brandishing his influence like a weapon. Forget her, Jordan. He shouted, voice dripping with venom. She's just a kid playing hero. You don't need her. You belong with us. Jordan's gaze flickered between Jake and Sarah. The division was palpable, a chasm of fear and hope stretching wider with each second. Jordan, don't listen to him. Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. You know who you are. You're stronger than this. Remember the kid who dreamed of being better? You can still be that kid. His hesitation turned to anger, then confusion as the sirens wailed closer, pushing against the edges of the scene. The lights spun like an oncoming storm, piercing through darkness and illuminating the truth. I don't know. Jordan shouted back, voices rising all around him. What's the point? Because you have the chance to choose. Sarah cried. Choose something real. Choose the family you have. Choose hope. Something shifted within Jordan. The innocence of youth began to resurface, battling against the shadows of his reality. Hope flickered in his eyes, fighting through the murkiness like the dawn breaking over a dark night. Seeing that spark, Sarah took one more step forward, her heart racing. I will stand with you no matter what comes, Jordan. But you have to take my hand. Around them the panic escalated. The sirens crested into a crescendo, and in that moment, fear became a flicker of light. Jordan's defenses crumbled, and as he locked eyes with Sarah, she could almost see him weighing his past against the glimmer of his future. Quick, over this way. A voice yelled. A uniformed officer crowded in alongside the others, pulling over the chaos. But before further chaos erupted, Jordan took a breath, and in that moment of clarity, he made his choice with a rush of adrenaline. He bolted toward Sarah, seizing her outstretched hand. I want to go. His voice broke over the tumult, but sincerity rang clear. Then let us get out of here, she said, heart pounding as she pulled him along. Mark caught sight of them and nudged close, determination flooding his eyes. They darted through the scattered crowd, weaving past chaos, a connection forged through trust and determination. As they reached the perimeter where the red lights danced across anxious faces, braver souls stepped aside. Freedom awaited them just beyond the chaos, offering a way back into the light. Jordan, stay close. Mark urged. Let us move. Sarah pressed, adrenaline spurring them on. They burst through the exit, the cool night air slapping against their faces like a breath of fresh hope. But just as they reached the edge of the crowd, Jake's furious voice rang out behind them. You can't run from this, Jordan. You'll regret it. Jordan paused, torn for just a heartbeat. But Sarah's grip tightened, and she pulled him forward into the light, into safety, into freedom from the darkness. The sound of sirens drew closer, mixing into an intricate dance of urgency. In those fleeting moments, they crossed the line that separated them from danger, the precarious edge between fear and hope. Where do we go now? Jordan panted, the reality crashing over him like a tide, relief evident in his expression. To the community center, Sarah exclaimed, remembering Tom's South legacy, the place that had been the heart of their lives. They will help you, and together we can give back what Tom invested in each of us. As they made their way toward the car, the distant sirens blended into a symphony of life. A chorus of new beginnings, of reclaiming what was lost. They were free, but the journey hadn't ended. It was just beginning. Merging back into the light, Sarah felt the weight of the last few days lift, replaced by a radiant determination. She looked at Jordan, seeing the bravery within him, knowing that together they would face whatever lay ahead. They wouldn't just be survivors. They would be a beacon for others ensnared in the shadows. I'm not letting you go back, she whispered, eyes bright with conviction. We're going to rise together. With that promise, a new chapter unfolded. The future may still hold shadows, but now they were stronger, united, ready to illuminate the world ahead. And as their laughter began to blend with the night, Sarah knew that while some truths had been painful to uncover, they also led them toward real change, the kind that would transform not only their lives but countless others. Together, they stepped into the dawn of possibility. There was hope ahead now. This is the moment you've been waiting for. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and boost this story into the hearts of even more who need to hear it. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this amazing transformation. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible journey of change. Let us spread this hope together.